Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me. So, if you are here, you are interested in building your music collection, which is what we're going to talk about here. But first of all, I just want to say there is no wrong way to build a music collection. However, I've got some tips to get you started at least, if you're new to the music community or if you're just returning after a long absence. Maybe you gave it up for a while, you had kids. Who knows? Now you're back into it. Vinyl is booming. I know it's brought a lot of people back. So if you just don't know where to start, this is the video for you. I'm going to get you started and talk about ways that you can build your music collection. And if you're a newbie, these are also great ways to get you started. We'll get into it here in just a bit. But before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit subscribe, please do. Also, leave a comment, hit like. All those things do help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you turn on notifications, you'll never miss an episode. You'll always be up to date and you'll be able to build your collection just that much faster. So now I want to start by saying there are certain albums that I think should be in every collection. Now, this is my opinion. Obviously, it doesn't really have to be this way because they're just albums that I love. They're also just some of the most popular albums. And while I am going to dive a lot deeper and tell you how to build a collection, not just tell you a bunch of bands sort of a thing, I did want to start off with a few classic albums for those newbies that are out there. And this is just a quick, smattering 6, 7 albums here. The Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers, an absolute classic from 1971, has some of their biggest hits on it. And of course, it's one of the most iconic albums with the zipper front from Andy Warhol creating that. What collection would be complete if you didn't have Led Zeppelin's 4 in it for Stairway to Heaven alone, but all the other great tracks that are on this also 1971. David Bowie, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, 1972, probably the all-time classic glam rock album, and obviously David Bowie's most famous as well. Then, my favorite band, Pink Floyd, you should start with Dark Side of the Moon from 1973. This album has been on the Billboard album chart longer than any other album. It is around 970, 980 weeks that it has been on the chart, and at some point will surpass at 1,000 weeks on the chart, and it is hundreds of weeks ahead of the next album behind it, which I want to say might be Metallica's Black Album, which is another one you should probably have in your collection, but great place to start. In my opinion, the best AC/DC album, Back in Black, the return after the fall of original frontman Bon Scott, Highway to Hell, another great one to have, but 1980, that one. I love melodic rock, AOR, so you got to have a little Journey in the collection. Escape, 1981. It's got Don't Stop Believin', which I think is the #1 all-time played song. It's got more spins on the radio than any other song. I think it has more views than any other song on YouTube, sort of a thing. It always is breaking records and being used in TV and movies, so you probably know it, even if you think you don't know it. And of course, what I think is the all-time greatest rock album, and I know a lot of people disagree with me, and that is okay, because this is just my opinion. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction from 1987. I absolutely love this album. And so, if there was a brand new person starting out, young kid, whatever it might be, those are some of the albums that I would say start with, right? But after you get that stuff, after you get the albums that everyone tells you to go out and buy, how do you actually build a collection? Where do you go from there? And so I want to start off with, number one, buy what you like. Okay, and I know that sounds simple, but don't buy what people tell you to buy, including what I just said, right? You don't have to buy that stuff to get going, but you should think about it and buy the things that you're interested in, because music collection is all about enjoyment, escaping from the everyday routine. It is a passion. It is something that you do to unwind and have a good time. So it should not be work. So focusing on bands, sounds, things that you like to engage with will make the collecting a lot more enjoyable for you and make you want to continue to do it. And it won't seem like work. And I think, to me, that is one of the big things to focus on as we move into this. Number two, exploring bands and artists that you like, right? So if you do like Guns N' Roses, and they have a very limited amount of albums out there. You can explore solo albums from Izzy Stradlin. He's got 10 or so out there. Slash has a lot of different things, from Slash's Snake Pit to uh, the band with the Conspirators and Miles Kennedy. He just did a blues album for something entirely different. Duff McKagan has stuff that's out there. Even Steven Adler, the drummer, has solo stuff. So lots of things to be explored from all your favorite bands, no matter who it is that you're into. And so, you can focus on the album catalogs, but beyond the studio albums, there's live albums, there's compilations that may have rarities and stuff on them. There's box sets and expanded editions and vinyl and stuff. So let's say that your favorite album is Def Leppard's Pyromania. There's two CD deluxe editions that celebrated the 20th anniversary that had an unreleased live show in it. There's other box sets that collect up their whole catalog to a certain date that the album is included in, and you get to explore other stuff with it. There is this recent 2024 edition for the 40th anniversary of Pyromania, featuring a whole bunch of unreleased stuff and a plethora of cool material. So you can always go deeper with just your favorite albums, those big famous albums everybody talks about. Usually there's deluxe editions out there, but then you can start going into the solo things and checking out side projects and all that sort of stuff. Another thing to consider is that sometimes your favorite bands have played under different names. So Blue Oyster Cult also played under the name Stalk Forest Group. Same band, just pre-Blue Oyster Cult. Black Sabbath played under the name Heaven and Hell. This is the Ronnie James Dio era lineup of Black Sabbath, doing this in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. But then, as I talked about with those side projects and things, there's a band called Rondinelli that features drummer that was Bobby Rondinelli with Black Sabbath, but also Neil Murray, bassist who played with them, and Tony Martin, their vocalist. So you don't have Tony Iommi, but you have other guys from Black Sabbath all gathered up here. Tony Iommi's, guitar player, doing solo stuff here with Glenn Hughes, who also fronted Black Sabbath. They made 2 albums together, and Tony Iommi does have just a straight solo album with a whole bunch of cool vocalists joining in to sing on the songs, including Ozzy Osbourne. So a lot of cool things like that. Mott the Hoople played under the name Mott simply. Danger Danger changed its name to the Defiance. And AC/DC Brian Johnson, frontman, even has a solo album out called Strange Man. Very hard to come by, though. But before he was in AC/DC, he was in a band called Geordie, right? So you can go backwards, you can go forwards, you can go sideways. There's a lot of ways to do it. And how do you do it? For me, I just usually Google, I go onto Wikipedia, I read about my favorite bands. And this is part of where, if you're in record stores and you're talking to other music fanatics, you might find cool stuff out. But take note of that stuff so that you can explore your favorite artists and go check stuff out. Doesn't mean you have to buy it, but you may find you like some of that stuff once you have collected all there is by your favorite band. All right, number 3, how and where to buy, right? We're talking about building your music collection, so you need to know where to go and how to do this. I'm talking about ways to explore, but now you got to purchase this stuff. So, of course, record stores, record shows, online retail, eBay. A lot of people like Discogs. I'm not a big fan of that place because you can't see what it is you're buying, but I like eBay because they actually post photos of the stuff that you're going to be purchasing and you see the real thing. Now, each of these places have their pluses and minuses. Record stores are great for finding that hidden gem, the thing you didn't even know you were looking for. It's also good for finding used albums, also seeing the latest new releases. Sometimes that's hard to find. You go on a website and they don't necessarily promote that. Amazon does not. You got to click through 10 different buttons to find the new releases. And getting recommendations from store owners and employees. So that's, what I was also just talking about. When you're in record stores and you get recommendations, take note, write it down. You don't necessarily have to explore it right then. Record shows are always cool for bringing out a lot of different vendors into one place. So it's sort of like visiting 100 record stores all at once. Now, that has its pluses and minuses because while they're all coming out, sometimes the selection is limited because it's not the whole record store, right? They're just kind of bringing the cream of the crop, so to speak. There's also duplication between the vendors, so you may go from one table to the next and see a lot of the same stuff. But of course, that does allow you to haggle in the prices and maybe get a good deal. Online retail is where I spend a lot of my time. You're going to find your cheapest price online because you can search a lot of different things, but it is harder to peruse, right? If you don't know what you're looking for, much harder, right? If you don't know what you're looking up, how do you start? If you go into a record store, you can just simply start in the letter A and go through. You can look for a favorite band, see what's in the section. It might spark an idea, go somewhere else. But when you're online, you really have to know what you're looking for. And as I said, perusing is a little bit harder, but you can save on costs because like Amazon sells things very inexpensively. Go to eBay and price check. And shipping costs though can be expensive, but if you get Amazon Prime, which has a lot of other features to it, it's free shipping. eBay is good for finding a bunch of a specific album. So again, if you know what you're looking for and you type it in at eBay, you're going to get 100 different versions of that album being sold, and you can compare the cost, you can compare the quality. Somebody may have one that's a little lesser quality used that you're okay with instead of buying new, and check how long it's going to ship. Maybe one's coming from Japan, it's going to take a month, but it's a lot cheaper than one that is in, say, closer your state, and you got to pay a lot more money to get it. But for me, when I want things right away, I can go online, I can find the best quality, or eBay, find the best quality and find the closest one so that I'm going to get it the quickest. The next thing I want to talk about on here is storing the collection, right? You've started to build a collection. How do you do it? Me, I built this music room here, and that's not for everybody. And I have a 12,000 CD collection, so I need a lot of storage space for mine. But when you're starting out, you don't have that many. And so how is it that you're going to store these things? And for small collections, you may choose to just stack them, get them lined up in a particular way, put them between, some bookends or something like that. But as the collection grows, you may want to display stuff. I've got these shelves, but made sure to keep them low enough that I could actually put things on them to display them. And I always find that to be the one of the best parts about it, because I have to walk through my music room to get to my bedroom or go downstairs. So I get to experience it every day. And seeing the collection makes me happy. As I said, it's supposed to be a positive thing. It is your passion. It is an enjoyment. So make sure you get to see it. Make sure it's on display and it's beautiful, because it will give you that joy even when you're not out there purchasing or you're not home listening to it. When you're just seeing it, it's going to put a smile on your face. And so I think storing it is a big way. Now, you can get boxes like this from your local record stores. This is how CDs are shipped. They hold 30 CDs. I like to use them to coordinate all of one artist, in this case, Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd doesn't have that many albums out, so I have a lot of other space, but what I keep in here is solo project stuff. So I also have my David Gilmour stuff in here, and I've got stuff from Roger Waters in here. I've also got stuff from Rick Wright, the keyboardist, in here, going back to the first singer. I've got Syd Barrett in here. So I got a lot of different stuff all together. And when I'm in the mood for Pink Floyd, I go grab this one box, I take it over to my stereo, and I can pull stuff out and enjoy it that way. And another way, I've shown this because I've talked about even how to make these boxes, but this is a good way to start here. This is simply an office box, and they use it to store legal documents and things like that. This is just happens to be the Staples brand of box. I don't even know if they go by this number anymore, the 33250, but this type of a box, and I cut it down to fit CD size for me. And there you go. They hold 90 CDs perfectly in here. And so that is another way to get started before you move on to things like purchasing a bookcase, which works really well for CDs. With the rise and boom of vinyl, there are a lot of ways to store. IKEA alone has a ton of different ways to store your vinyl, whether in crates, bookshelves, display stands, all kinds of different things like that. Amazon is another great place to go and, just Google, type in, record stand or record storage or CD shelf or, any number of things like that. And you're going to get a ton of them. So a lot of different things. The CD is very versatile in having a way to be stored. Vinyl, not so much, but I mean, there's a lot of things out there that are pre-built for it, so you can do that. But milk crates work great for vinyl, not so much for CDs, but again, all different ways. And of course, most storage stores out there, the storage container or the container store, I think they call it, has a lot of great plastic bins and things like that that are made for it. So figuring out that very early on, even just having a nice way that makes it enjoyable. Now, as part of all of that, keeping the collection organized, right? So now you started to build a collection and it's getting to be too much to just quickly peruse and you need a storage method and you found that, but how is it you're going to keep it organized? So whether you've got 10 albums or 10,000 albums, part of keeping things collected is organizing it, right? So that you can find it easy. And, you could start off and simply say, I want to keep things alphabetized and just start in the letter A. And no matter what the genre or anything is, I'm going to find it that way. And that's cool. And when I was a lot younger, I just simply, and I had about 100 cassettes. That's all I did. I did not break things down. But as my collection got a lot larger, I began to break things down. For me, at least, I broke mine into 4 categories: rock, metal, glam metal, and alternative. And I pulled glam metal out because that's one of my absolute favorite genres of music. It's the genre I grew up on and started with. That very easily could just be incorporated into simply metal. Like if you were to do rock, pop, metal, and alternative, that's 4 pretty broad genres that cover about everything. So what I like is breaking it into genres allows me to go to a section when I'm in the mood for it. That L-shaped section of CDs that you see behind me there, that is all just rock. When I'm in the mood for that, I can go to that and pull stuff out for what I'm feeling. What you see right here, that is the start of the glam metal section, and it goes down. And so if I'm in the mood for just straight glam metal, some sleazy rock, 88, 89, 90, that era of stuff, I go to these right here because that is a different feeling, a different mood than the stuff that's over there. And I have different sections like that in here, the music room, but also around my house to be able to go to. And so I find that it makes it much more enjoyable when I can very easily access all my music. Plus, if you're, going to record stores, how is it you're keeping track of all of this stuff, right? I keep it all in the head, but having an organized collection allows you to know what you have instead of, being put away somewhere just in random stacks, not alphabetized. You might forget you don't have something or forget you have something because you're not seeing it. But if you're regularly seeing it, you're going to remember it. And so that, for me at least, is one of the best ways to keep you from duplicating stuff, is to keep your collections organized. All right, and number 6, talking about grouping stuff, and that's kind of the same as the genre aspect, but we're getting more specific with the bands. And I talked a little bit about it right here with my Pink Floyd collection, because I've got Pink Floyd, but I've also got all the solo projects and stuff with it. So if you're keeping your stuff A to Z, you can just have it in there. But sometimes you forget that you had this, artist had a solo project or a side project, and it maybe is a very obscure name and you're not thinking of it. And I was just doing that when I was thinking about the Byrds and Chris Hillman, who made albums with Roger McGuinn, Gene Clark and Chris Hillman. So you had McGuinn, Clark, Hillman. And I wanted more of that stuff. And I was already listening to my Byrds, and I was already listening to McGuinn, Clark, Hillman, and I was already listening to Roger McGuinn. And I forgot that Chris Hillman also had a band called the Desert Rose Band, right? But I found that. And if I'm keeping it all together, that's going to help me remember those sort of things. So I like to keep, even within my genres, glam metal, having like Tesla, and the lead vocalist, Jeff Keith, not only has some solo stuff, but he had another band in between the period when Tesla was not active called Bar 7, and I keep that there. And I've got other stuff with like Guns N' Roses. I have all my Slash and Duff and stuff right in the section. So it's actually under G for Guns N' Roses, not M for Duff McKagan. S for slash. And another thing just to think about is whether or not you're going to file and alphabetize based on last name or first name. I don't know where it came about that people started alphabetizing under the first name, putting, say, Chris Cornell. Well, his last name happens to be C also, but um, putting Steve Perry under S instead of P for Perry. But I think in this age of digital music where it alphabetizes by first name, which is just crazy to me, all record stores that I'm aware of and everyone that I've ever been into and every big major music collector of stuff always alphabetizes by last name. Anyway, it's however you want to do it. Remember, this is all about you and your personal taste, but these are the things to think about and how it is that you may want to keep your stuff collected and going so that it's organized and that it's enjoyable and you remember what you have. And the final thing to talk about here, point number 7, keep a list of albums to explore and or purchase. So as I said, you're in the record store and you get a recommendation. I write stuff down in my phone. If you're a little old school, have a piece of paper. Write it down. Be prepared when you go into a record store to be able to write things down. Text yourself it or email it to you if you don't have a feature in your phone to take notes on that sort of stuff. But I like to keep 2 lists going for me. Rare albums that I'm searching for, ones that maybe have never been pressed onto CD that I'm keeping an eye out for, or a vinyl copy because it was never pressed to CD. I just recently found a band that has an album only on cassette, not on LP, and not on CD. So now I've got to go buy that one on cassette, but I'm going to be keeping an eye out for it. The other list that I keep is artists and bands that I want to explore. So I know that I'm going to be going to the record store on Saturday and it's the middle of the week and I'm playing some stuff and I'm like, man, I'm really enjoying Mott the Hoople right now. I want to explore some more Ian Hunter solo stuff. He was the front man. So I write down in my thing, Ian Hunter, right? I'm going to look that up and check out and see if there's more stuff at my local store. Even if I own everything by Ian Hunter or everything by Mott the Hoople, I will write that down because you never know what you're going to find. I can go in there and think that I have everything from a band, and then lo and behold, there's some Japanese release I don't own. There's some compilation I've never seen. There's a promo only item that was never sold to the public that they happen to have. I mean, you never know. And so I love to keep an eye out for those things. But doing all those sort of things will help you build a collection. So bottom line, as I said right from the get-go, this is all a very personal thing. There's no wrong way to collect. There's no wrong way to start. There's no wrong way to build the collection. Do what makes you happy, right? Listen to others if that's what you like to do and build from their collections. If you want to start on your own and just start with a favorite band, or if you're a diehard and you're like me and you say, I love glam metal so much, it is my mission to collect every glam metal album ever released, right? And I'm in a mission to do that. That is about the only genre that I'm willing to buy. Every glam metal. If I find out it's a glam metal album from that era, it doesn't matter if I've ever heard it, know who they are, nothing, I am buying it because 99% chance I'm going to absolutely love it. And that has just been the way that it has been for glam metal for me. So you may find that you want to do the same thing with a particular genre, style, artist, whatever. But bottom line, do yourself a favor. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. Be who you are in terms of the music collecting because you're going to enjoy that collection more than anything. If you buy albums people tell you to buy that you're not really into, you're not going to enjoy it as much if it's sitting on the shelf and you're like, well, someone told me I had to have it in the collection. You may never listen to it again, right? So it's really up to you, but music collecting should make you happy, should be the thing that you focus on, that brings you joy. Before you know it, I think if you follow some of these tips that are here, you'll have your own collection taking shape. And, maybe in one day it'll even rival my collection of 12,000 CDs. I hope it does. I love people doing the same sort of thing as me and building it. I've been doing it 35 years, so it can take a long time. And I'm certainly in no goal to get high. It just happened to be. When I started my collection in 1989, I did not set out with the idea of collecting. I just started buying stuff. But when I got to 100 cassettes and it no longer fit in the 100 cassette tape rack that I bought, when I bought it when I only had 5 cassettes, I couldn't believe that I had to do something more for this collection. And it has just continued to grow and continue to grow. But I only ever buy what I want. And yet I've amassed this beautiful collection that brings me the most joy imaginable. And for you, I hope these tips lead to your own music collection and bring you that same amount of joy. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.